ago from the Uganda Pentecostal University, Yatsu, and me and my colleagues, we have been asking ourselves various questions concerning politics, though it's a bit a challenge for us to address them because we don't have the answers. But we happen to come across in news and interviews that you make on television. We thought it to be good to say to be part of the people who are going to answer our questions, which may help our people in the future or people who are still living today. And if you may grant me, I ask you my first question, which may go on. What is contributing to the failure of the union of the opposition groups or parties in Uganda, and how can we mitigate this cause of the failure?
Thank you. First of all, you must appreciate the formation of this country. Uganda is not like how European countries are. European countries were tribes, like tribes. So the British are British, and all of them are British. And the Spanish are Spanish, the French are French, the Germans are like that. But you see, for us, it's like the Balkanized group of different nations. 16 of them. You may say Uganda, Busoga, Toro, Bunyoro, Ankole, Kigezi, Ajoli, Teso, Bukedi, West Nile, about 16. If you went at the gate or the entrance of Parliament, their symbols are embroidered on the gate. They symbolize the 16 nations that met. They actually met in Lancaster, what is the formerly called the Lancaster Conference. That was in 18 September 1961. Because earlier, after the Second World War, countries realized that it was hard to keep colonies. And the economic cost on them, so they had to, they were advised by the US. Because after the Second World War, all economies in Europe broke down. So what they did, it was America that was, through its special plan, trying to fix the economy. Saying, no, but I can't fix what you have of money. And part of the reasons for the Second World War was the rise of nationalism in Europe. So now they said, no, even these other countries were agitating. The Egyptians had got their independence about 1922, Gamal Nasser, which actually became the headquarters of every country that wanted to be liberated. Yes. You would then about 1947, Ghana and Kwame Nkrumah got their independence. That started inspiring others. Now even the Africans that went to help with the Second World War, to fight on the sides where they belong, they started knowing that, why are we fighting? They realized that those countries that we are fighting for independence. So now when they came back, they started agitating for independence. Then they started seeing the formation of political parties. There was a political party that is never, even if you Google, they don't talk about it, the Mataka Party. Uganda started. Then eventually the Uganda National Congress of Ignatius Kandavumsazi, whose Secretary General was Abeka Mayanja, one of the best lawyers we have had in this country. It started, you should be knowing such a no, that it's a role. It's a member in Kampala. As he went to, it used to be private field. I don't know if it still keeps the name. Sergeant was the treasurer of Buganda. So he had built a general house, that is where they put up their offices and started getting colleagues from all over the country. And then eventually there was the Catholics. After one of their own, Joseph Mugwanya being denied to become Katikkiro of Buganda, they started pressure which eventually became the Democratic Party. So they started the agitation of independence. Then I think about 1961, when the UPC split, there came the Obote group, which eventually became the Uganda People's Congress. In 1961, in March, there was an election. That election that led Uganda refused to participate because it had not known its position in Uganda. Remember, even the name Uganda comes from Uganda. So all along they thought they were protectorate. These guys would go and give them their independence. Now they see there is a man to say, you guys, what is this? Because there had been a conflict in 1953, which led to the exiling of the Kabaka. Up to 1955, when there was what is called the Nairobi Conference. I know some of you, they don't teach you those things, but you must know. When the Kabaka again was against the East African Federation, they had wanted to again something very big into one nation. So they said, no, we are not in it. It was exactly it was returned. Now we are saying, what are you talking about? Now when they refused, Ben Chiwanuka, who was the leader of DP then, the new young lawyer, very vibrant, hit the road. So all those who support the Kabaka refused to do what? To contest and to vote. Now, of course, you see an election, they count those who have come.
Yeah.
So DP won. Now, when they won, he became chief minister. But now, eventually, the British saw there was a problem. If the vast majority was refused to participate in that election, it is almost not legitimate. It could be legal, but they have no legitimacy, the confirmation of other people. Then they went to the Lancaster conference that was invited by Ian Mindley, or what they say, the Secretary of State for Colonial Affairs. So they invited all the 16 tribes that form Uganda. Now the question was the position of Uganda in the new Uganda. Then Bunyoro brought the issue of its lost counties. So around that time, then when the minister said, I think the issue of the lost counties would wait, the Bunyoro delegation walked out. But now they spoke and then eventually agreed. In April 1962, there was an election. But see, on the events coming to that time, what happened is UPC wanted to secure a win. Obote sent Grace Ibijira. Grace Ibijira was a conservative and known to the Kabaka of Uganda, side by the desert. So he went and convinced him that, you know, what we must do is that we must deal with these Catholics. So when they had that kind of discussion, they had a conference and then agreed. That is when KY comes in. So they fielded those who believed in the Kabaka, went and contested on that ticket. And they formed an alliance. So as I told you, in April 1962, they won the elections. When they won the election, Dr. Apromito Obote became the Prime Minister of Uganda. And then was the Executive Prime Minister. Then in 1963, Kabaka Mutesa, side by Mutesa II, was made the ceremonial president. So now they had made their pact. DP went into opposition. It was then led by BESIGYE. Now the party president was not in parliament. When it went up, now the one in parliament was BESIGYE Kalinga. Even there were even colleagues like Mzee Boniface Byanyima. So now they started government pushing on. Then along the way in 1964, remember at the Lancaster conference they said after 2 years they shall have an election in the two lost counties, a referendum to ask the people there, do you want to stay in Uganda or go back to New York? You know when Kabaka Mwanga helped the British in their conquest, remember in putting down the rebellion, Uganda was rewarded those two counties, and at the time, what you see that all the expansion of all areas all over the world, that is how countries would expand. So now they have been rewarded. Now this issue at the independence, it became an issue. Now they say they will have a referendum. So now in 1964, the 2 years have elapsed. So Obote takes a motion to Parliament to prepare for the referendum. When they reach there, now he says, now you know the Kabaka and Uganda had put some kind of development area, and then there was some Baganda who had migrated there after the independence. So the numbers were possible enough that would give Uganda a win. Now what Obote did was that in his motion, he said that those who did not vote in the 1962 independence elections, they are not going to vote. So that meant that all those that had gone wouldn't be voters. So at the end of the day, Buganda lost what? The election on the 14th of November 1964. Then, after a few days, about 3, on the 4th, on the 9th, the Katikiro of Uganda, Michael Chip resigned, was replaced by Managing Kant. So afterwards, Obote once presented a document to sign them off. Now he's presenting the Kabaka, who is the president, to give away the 2 counties. So the Buganda he had inherited, they were part of Buganda. Now they are asking him to give away. So he told him, I cannot give away in the land of Uganda. So the rift widened. So 10th of July 1965, what is signed off in the place of the president, and the lost counties went back to New York. So now the marriage of convenience, things were falling apart. So that is how what you call, when you're talking about your question of how people unite, because we have had those uniting to win an election. Because that is what Uganda is talking about. But you see, when you're uniting, you must be having some fundamentals, some principles, those things that you believe in. You don't just unite. Like we tell people, you don't just marry a woman because you have a woman in a skirt and a blouse. No. Some of us say, no. A woman must have gone to school. She must be beautiful. She must be coming from an old family. And again, there must not be another question. Hurry for education, right there. fearing God. So all of those, I must stick. This, yes. But I no. Since you are at the age of getting married, pick anything. Now, people here wanted just to get into government. On wanting to get into government, they create a situation. Now, of course, now even in the the UPC, there was a friction, a function. The leftists and the rightists. One led by Ignatius Musazi and another led by Kakonge. Kakonge is actually the father-in-law of Ginomoto. He married the daughter of that prominent man from the UPC. They invited Ningira, who wins an election. And now Ningira becomes the what? The boss. So because they were in touch with the Kabaka, they started organizing. An opportunity came in 1964 of what I don't know if you have heard of what we call the gold scandal.
Not order.
Yes, there was a gold scandal. There was a rebel called Christopher Banye in DRC. So the government of Uganda started supporting him. When they supported him, around that period, Kano Amin opened up an account in one of the there was a bank, I'm forgetting the name. He opened up an account, and in 24 hours he had to put there 340,000 Uganda shillings. Then that was money, because my parent bought land in 1971, 7 acres at 7,000. That can tell you how much they have. If you have 300,000 and pick 7,000 and buy land. We bought a brand new Mercedes Benz at home at 7,000 Uganda shillings. Yes. No, we did not used to beach off in these old cars second hand. My parents to still talk about this. Now you buy a car, when you buy a car, it comes and checks. So is this a new car or the number plate? So that was big money. Because they got bored at the time. So then one of the KY MP, Daudo Cheng, I don't know if you've heard of that name. Daudo Cheng is a zone in Nansana, Daudo Cheng zone. The Kabaka had given him out of land. He was a friend of the Kabaka that went to school in Libudo. So Daudo Cheng was an MP of Mitiana, with Bishop here in Gocheng. So he was a very vocal MP, but he was actually poisoned, died seriously. So Daudo Cheng brought the motion, apparently, to question the conduct of the army chief. Then, as how Uganda politics is, he was blamed. Then Obote, as Museveni does, invited his MPs, so he talked to them. What I don't told you, when that battle started raging, a friction, Kabaka Mutesa encouraged KY members to join UPC. To go and support Ningira so that they have the numbers, the UPC. Now also Bote went and tapped the DP. You know, at the time that if you're not part of this group, will never be allowed to speak in parliament. So they said, no, if you want to speak, join UPC. So he picked them as the leader of opposition, who was Basira Bataringa. DP remained with about 4 MPs, and Bataringa has made Minister of Internal Affairs. So now, when he called his MPs, eventually they are dealt with to summon the soldier and me, so that he answers. That never happened. After some time, Bataringa comes to introduce the motion. When Okoto hears the group, he proposed the group to State House, State Lodge. Then Nakase was State Lodge. So they plan and said, no, you go and oppose the motion. Now, Kabaka and his man Ningira also plot Obote had done was to carry his people. Sorry, we had gone with some ministers up country in the north. Now these people use that opportunity. The Ningiras and some ministers, they are agreed to go and support the motion. When they went to Parliament, the motion was supported. That Kanamini must be summoned, must be suspended, and now Obote's name comes in. And the defense minister then Felix Onama. Obote coming back had been approved. So what Obote did was now say now this is serious. Obote decided to arrest 5 ministers. Grace Bingira, Emmanuel Rumu, Barak Kiria, Mathias Singovi, George Magezi. They were arrested. The Vice President William Bandope, who was the Chabazinga of Busoga, he said, I won't wait for what? For this. So what they sat with these men, Felix Onama, the Minister of Defense, Batalinda, Internal Affairs, and the IGP, Orema. Orema was killed during a military regime with Bishop Ruum. So he had been at the first black IGP. Then they planned the attack on what? Ndubiri, Mengo. They could have been and then another attack. And they were saying that Mutesa was planning, the president was trying to overthrow the government. The president overthrowing what? You know, in point is a several people they say, where was this guy? What was this guy thinking when they had this in mind? So he gave 3 reasons. One is to overthrow government. He said 2, his behavior on the outcomes of the referendum, that he had also wanted, he had moved the troops without consulting the minister. The other issue he raised was that he had sought foreign support from the UN. Then he fired him. When he fired him, he removed the constitution. He suspended the constitution. Now he announced that all the privileges, responsibilities, and all the like that were in the hands of the president are now in the hands of Dr. Obote. So now he was literally telling you he was now president. And then eventually he called a meeting and announced, okay, no, before this, in 1965, he had announced that the relationship between UPC and KY had ended. So the battle line had been drawn. So, but those are issues that our people never talk about. Then we see another relationship where countries are emerging. I won't talk about the 70s because there was no political party at the time. Because now we have gone to one party state. Obote moving to the left, and what is called the National Declaration. When Obote said the idea KAIJA, I don't know what that means. A man administrator doesn't know even what that means. So I said that he had chopped off the what? The head of the snake and attacked DP. That DP is the one statement political party which it only made in 1961. So he said even those ones have no what? Have no room. So political parties were shelved. Now and then brought to the 1967 constitution, which is famous, it is called the Pigeonhole Constitution by Bina Isa, Queen's Council, QC, Bina Isa. 71, when he was removed while in Singapore, the elections and parliament, all that were suspended for that entire period. Then there came the Moshi Conference. Again, the mesh conference was again an arrangement aimed at joining forces to remove a regime, to remove a mean. They never wanted to discuss who they are, what they believe in, and the like. So that conference was in March 1979. Many Ugandans went there, the relays, many professors attended that conference. Professor Nabudele, I think I have some of the names. It was chaired by Semei Nyanzi. He was actually, but some had to say the name Nyanzi. So he was thinking that one of his kinsmen was, that's where he belongs. Professor Kamuntu, Paulo Mwanga, that very intelligent Ugandan. Professor Yusuf Rule, Sam Sabagereka, Dr. Arnold Bisase, Dr. Simon Gerere, Ruliza Chimunda, very prominent BESIGYE, Otema Limandi was once Prime Minister in Uganda, Captain Cuthbert Serumaga, he was the father of the guy Karundi Serumaga, one of the intelligent Ugandans to have, but he was stopped by this regime to be hosted on any radio. He used to host the Spectrum Radio 1. And then it became too arrogant, so they said no government no radio should ever hire him or even invite him. So you only find him at platforms like this. Professor Edward Gumayo, Professor Nabde was what we call the gang of the four. Professor Dan Wadada Nabde, Professor Yadi Standon, Professor Omonyo Joe, Eteke Jaru, Yuweni Seven Kategaya, Bishop Yono Koth, Kefa Sempanji, and Professor Kanyihamba, that one are students of law. You know him, Andrew KAIJA. There's a guy you saw on TV, Israel Mayengo. You know, you always see him being, he's an old man, but the brain is still very young and sharp when he's invited to speak about it. So that was another what? Arrangement, which they used to remove Amin, and they achieved in 1979 on the 11th of April 1979, led by Wito Job, the General Wito Job, who I hear was a cousin of Dr. Bote. They came and what? They came and took over power. Then they had what they call their parliament, the National Consultative Council. They had what was called there was a group called administrative something, I don't know. We'd call it like the political wing, who was led by the Nabudele. The National Consultative Council, which was the parliament then, was of Edward Umayo. So now they brought Professor Yusuf Kenere as president. That thing eventually, Binai supported the umbrella. What do you call the unity? The umbrella. So he had been told, he led for 68 days. He had been told that whenever he has some change, he wants to make some changes, he must consult the other gang of four. Once I read for you, who were the guys in the curtain at one church,
the ones
running the government. So in 68 days, with the use of this naked man, Mr. Museveni, he was removed. But they said that in the period, the economy had stabilized, they cut prices, but they said he had refused to use the 1967 constitution and went back to the 1962 constitution. So he was a federalist in the way, but these were Republicans. So they saw to him and said, no, if you give this guy more time. But for us who know the politics of Uganda, all this didn't know was meant to prepare for the second coming of Obote. Now I think that is what we had, was trying to create a situation where he can consolidate himself. They removed him after 6 months. Brought what? The Musevenis brought Binais.
Yeah.
Museveni was Minister of Defense. Mwanga, the computer, was Minister of Internal Affairs. Now Binais said, "Oh, this guy has caused the other guy problems. He must also do what? Remove them, try to change them." He had wanted Museveni Minister of Regional Affairs. The man who is interested in the guy taking regional affairs, actually the president that Museveni has given Kadaga, the office of Kadaga, what Museveni gave Kadaga, moving her from parliament, what she was interested in having MPs. So it's the same thing that was done to Museveni. Mwanga was given, was it office of energy, means of energy. The man did not have it. He had wanted this internal affairs to see how things move. The man was chief of staff, Oito Joke, ambassador. They said, "You man must be joking." The organizer, he was removed. Now the military council took over. It was led by Mwanga, Museveni vice. So they started organizing. That was in the middle of 1980. In about May, Obote comes back. May 27th, I'm forgetting the day, Obote comes back. He comes back through Bushen. And then the former infamous statement said that good leaders go. Then remember, he said good leaders don't go. Remember, they had gone. But when they go, they come back. So everybody what? Laughed, his men, and he came back. So when Binais had been removed, famous called Entebbe woman, he was removed at the time when the leader of what is called the National Consultative Forum Council, which was Parliament, Edward Mbayo, was leading a delegation to Yugoslavia, where I know you have read of NATO, the dictator, Tito.
Yeah.
No, Tito of Yugoslavia. What have you read? What have I told in class? I thought you knew him. So now, because of the umbrella, during that first phase, political parties never operated. A gentleman in his absence, a gentleman called Alex Waibari from the soccer, was made chair, and it was like now the Speaker of Parliament. Gumayo had been the Speaker of Parliament. So in the history of Parliament, that Alex Tarizim had been omitted. But one of our consultants, the encyclopedia, told them that we understand our Parliament has put him right. So now they went back to two political parties because they were preparing for an election. Then a gentleman called Woolies Zachirunda, those are the names you must search and read about, led the UPC, and Dr. Paul Kanga Semogerere became the leader of the DP wing. Then a political party called Conservative Party was registered. This one was the Conservative, the monarchists, those who believe in federal government, because he was the last Katiki of Uganda, he was the Katiki of Uganda, when monarchs were ousted by Obote. An election was organized by the EC, led by this boy was at the time was Kira from Rukungi, and this secretary was Sekono. They organized an election, which was frauded election. You would say people would be stopped from going to nominate UPC, what you call gerrymandering, where they had support, having many constituencies, and as they say, they won the election. But Mwanga refused anybody to announce the results of the election. At the time, you would not contest as president. In party with the highest number of seats, the leader would become president. So Obote, when the APC got the majority, he became president, without being voted for here in Uganda, where he was hated. So they got seats that side. VP were cleared here. CP never got a seat. UPC got one. Sorry, UPM of Museveni got one of Christopher Younger, but it was a protest vote because the DP candidate had been killed and had wanted to vote. So this one was, and then that was 27th May, that was in December 10th, 1980. So, as you are aware, in February 6th, in 81, Museveni declared war. 83, this guy, Waito Joe, who was the chief of staff, Obote's right-hand man, was killed in an helicopter. Someplace in Nakasongola. So events now turn. 1985, Obote is overthrown. He ran through Kayunga with his man Wakasisi. When they reached the border, we are told Wakasisi, remember that he had forgotten his jail. He returned, was grabbed and arrested. So he kept in jail even up to when Museveni was here. Museveni only released him not many years ago. So he came, in about 2000, after 2000, forgotten the year when he was released. So soldiers took over. Basilio Tikokeo and his group, Lani group, took over power. Now they invited other political parties to come and be part of the thing. From NRA, they invited Salim Saleh, who never came to Kampala. The Semogere came. Actually, Sam Kutesa was Attorney General. When Museveni was in the bush, for him was in the government. Paul Semogere was there. Mwanga was first made Prime Minister, but later removed when they went to the Nairobi peace talks. So they brought Abraham Waliko became Prime Minister. And those were also short-lived. Museveni came in 1961. So that is how people have been trying to create alliances, forge alliances, and try to keep around. But the alliances have not succeeded because, unlike in Europe, where alliances have strong foundations, you must be of the same ideology. Near as the same ideology. You must have the same vision. You must have the same objectives. Ideologies give you what you believe in. But now you cannot say a capitalist party joining a socialist party. You take power. You can't. You may take power, but you cannot live together. Because what you believe in are far different. Your worlds are apart. Socialists believe in a welfare state, where government must look after these people. The capitalists believe, no, just create an environment, these guys will take care of that. So eventually you take power, you have to fight. So it is the reason why there has not been success in the unity of, but they have they get a short time achievement, as I told, 1962, UPCKY, in 1979, everybody came into Mosh, Tanzania, and they removed but eventually was anarchy. That has been the same. Museveni trying to stabilize here, he invaded the DP, everybody coming to his government, but eventually it was never a success. It was Moses started arresting others, saying they're plotting to take over power. We still don't know who actually killed KAIJA. A Scotland report where in 1987, where the Scotland group was invited, the report is never out. But why? Because people would not believe in the same destination, sitting in the same taxi. It's going to come out, we are going to go. How can that taxi help you achieve your destination?
Definitely, that's strange. But now it seems that the way you have explained, it's as if the causes for failure are historical. And they're like as opposition.
No, they are fundamental, not just so they are those are fundamentals.
Oh,
ignoring the fundamentals, and just hit the road.
So we should just ignore the history.
No, you don't ignore the fundamentals must be taken care of.
So as opposition, do you think that as an opposition member, do you think that a time will come and maybe we know which caused the problem, those counties which caused the problems between Bunyura and Uganda will one day disappear?
No, for us we believe that there is need to have another conference, like the one in Mombasa, to discuss the fundamental problem of Uganda, honestly. And this time around, we need an African mediator from a country that is like ours. There's Nigeria, who have many, many tribes. Have you been able to keep together? You get somebody from Zambia, Zimbabwe, and the like. So in those societies that have the same problems, to be a mediator, that when you say, yes, I think you have a point, I have ever seen. Like those who say that the reason why Catholics don't divorce is that the priests who wrote that statement, who wrote that law that they should not, because for them they never get married. So they lack what we call empathy, being able in sitting the position of those in marriage, say, such a situation you must divorce. In the Anglican, it's because you go to the bishop, you speak about the same way the other don't say, my son, I'm facing the same challenge. So you can even compare notes and can even give a solution of how he has been able to keep his wife. And you go back with the solution, not just asking you must stick together. What God has binded, no man can do what?
Can separate.
Can separate.
Like, besides those causes, there are like various statements have been uttered out saying that most opposition members they only go into opposition just because they have their own interests. In most cases, when they refer to money, that's why it's very hard for them to unite in some topics. Do you agree or at times it's just a matter of lying to rent opposition?
No, it is the nature of politics in Africa. In many countries that has happened, where people shift goalposts to favor their own selfish interests. Because politics is a game of interests. You must have interests. But who are the beneficiaries of the interests? There is a leadership virtue in Africa, and let's say even in Uganda in particular, whereby politics has remained the only source of livelihood, survival, and fortune. That if you want people to get jobs, go into politics. If you want to get rich quick, go into politics. If you want to avoid taxes, go to politics. So people go to politics, not just in the opposition, even those who are in NRM. You cannot tell me a man who has been given 35 years uninterrupted can give us such a country. Lee Kuan Yew got the same opportunity and more Singapore from third world to first world. This Arab in Dubai, before the 60s, it was just sand. When the guy say, I want Dubai to be number one. Then they said, if I want Dubai to be number one, what do those who want to be number one do? If you are the first class degree, what do you do? Say, I must attend all lectures. I must write all the notes. I must go to the lab. I must read those notes. I must discuss. I must consult. You don't just say, I want the first class I think you're going to have. To get one. So even the one that has 35 years, when you ask him, give us the dividends of the 35 years, he'll show you nothing. God on his score about card. Involvement zero. Democracy zero. Human rights zero. Unit of Uganda is zero. So what you're talking about in the opposition, it is like we don't have leaders. People feel that when you push them to go to the tree, when actually for you think you are putting your back so the guy gets to the mango tree and throws what? Mangoes so that all of you eat. For you think that you have taken him to, there are even African proverbs that the one who gives you a position of leadership has given it an opportunity to eat. That is the thinking of Africans. In Europe, or in those countries that have moved ahead, they feel leadership is about transforming and moving your area of operation to a better state. Say, that is why you see them rating 100 days in the US. If you went and started rating Nabanja's 100 days, as she called it, you ask her about the 100,000. You say, what? You ask her about the stimulus package of them. You say, what? She'll have nothing to tell you. But if you go as a person, they tell you she has bought land, they tell you she has consulted this, she has done this, she has done this. Those personal achievements. So we sit with people who would not have the same aspirations. And some of us want to have a Uganda which competes with Botswana, with Mauritius, that looks up to Finland, Sweden, Switzerland, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Japan. You ask her, what do you want to see? For me, I would want to see a country where we have cubes. So he said even the name sounds bad to you. Whereby if I want to go to Gulu, I only need about 30 minutes, 1 hour. I'm in Gulu. So I can have a job in Gulu and sleep in Kampala every day. I want to have a card, transport card, so that in Europe they have what they call the intercities. You have a card, you put their money. If I want to go to Johannesburg, I just sit on a train. I want to see. I want to see that whoever is bright, whoever goes to school can find a job. Whoever is hardworking, he earns from their sweat. I want to see where businessmen can afford that, can pay a fair bit of taxes. I want to see an economy that is owned by Ugandans. I want to see tax holidays being given to Ugandans, not to Europeans. For me, that is the country I want. Like today, I am developing a model of what I call liberation economics. I want to see like what leaders, like what Magufuli did in just 5 years. I want to see it here. It is possible. But then you are moving with a team of colleagues who are saying, I want to have these so many buildings. For me, I want to have a country whereby when you are poor and you move out of your house, you don't become poor. You enjoy the fortunes of your country in good roads, good transport, good hospitals, good schools. Like we have a thinking that all education must be free. If you want to have a country, whoever wants to go to school, let him go to school. Not to afford. Whoever is sick, let him go to the next one, hospital. So those can be ideas, and then you find you're moving with a team who say that for me, if my kids must go to school in Canada. So you still manage so that the kid goes to Canada. Somebody thinks that even falling sick, you must go to India. For me, I want to be a nurse by a Ugandan doctor. Who, if we say that no, this kind of sickness is African, can we bring a herbalist? You can't take herbs to Germany. When actually a disease needs local herbs. So it's the reason that you think, no, it's not about opposition. It's about a society. It's about a generation where we don't have leaders, we have masqueraders. So when people have things that are even being given to them to speak, they say, come on, you think it's a good speech. People don't know how to match what somebody speaks and what they believe. They're two different things. The people who say that if I was deputy secretary general of the FDC, I would be rich. They want to try my sister and 7 buys them. Some of us, it brings the offers, even in the sort of position, say, I don't want to work for you because we don't share the same ideology. An FDC person who goes to work for 7 has no principles, has no ideology. Because we don't share the same ideology. Our economics are different, and some of these economics is different. So how do you work there? That means you've also gone to pick money for your own people.
So what is your perspective on the future of Ghana's politics if things remain the way they are today?
No, using the word, if they remain the way they are, we are doomed. But you see, as human beings, you're not like cows. That every day more, no. A human being knows how to change. Ugandans must agree to assess the situation they are in and become very, very honest. And then say, yes, this is the situation. What we call a situation analysis. They say, how do we get out of here? Some of us have tried to help them understand what kind of Uganda do we need and how they can benefit. Because what they call a citizen, they are responsible for a citizen. Not just holding that national ID. No, a citizen will have responsibilities. One of the responsibilities is making sure that your country moves to the right direction. You give the right leaders. You fire the bad leaders. But these things of clapping for people who are stolen must stop. Having corrupt people must stop. When you see people hiring people who are wannabes, who shouldn't be in offices, must stop. So we must roll our sleeves and do the dirty work. Nobody is going to change your country. Nobody. This thing I hear you say, America should help you. When America helps you, it must benefit. Don't help at zero price. No, they must benefit. That is why you see where they have investments in Kenya. When they have done election, you go on Twitter, you will see all the presidents, they call them presidents of the US. They don't use the word former. What would this former 44th president, 40, that is why you say, oh, now this is an order. You see them tweeting. You see them interested in Nigeria, where they're going. When this man, Hachikande of Zambia was in jail, delegations from the US came and visited him in prison. Why? They're interested in the copper. So they never come without an interest. They come with an interest. And then they define the agenda. So if you want to define the agenda, you must take the lead. You must get involved. And then after you say, this is the Uganda I want. If you want to depend on me, it is me who decide at what time we shall leave Nigeria Kumbi. As rich, we are park and find a friend and we talk. For you are there. Now the man I want we can even spend 8 hours in the what? On the journey. Because you are depending on me. But if you have hired me, say human must be good and celebrate, so where do we pass? Eh? Where it says where you pass, when you say park, I park. Because you paid me. Or because it's your car. If you want to be independent, you must work hard. If you want to be independent, you must take the right decisions. If you want to be independent, you must take the necessary risks. If we don't, we'll keep as far as a movie. Just saying, Magufuli before this country. Oh, even this man who is seen as a drunkard, Uhuru, he is also making wonders. Then he started saying, oh, even South Sudan. He said, oh, now even this Kenya just come in Congo. Yes. You start talking about how you are in the same league. As you see, by 1967, we are at the same level with South Korea. Hello? Do they even know that we now exist? During Amin's regime, we gave aid to Dubai. The other day, Museveni was there before a 36-year-old seeking for aid.
From your statements, you say that it's very hard for a government which has spent 35 years in government to change and become something good and do something better from what it has done. So, as the opposition members, do you hope or do you see any hope in defeating it, given the fact that it has spent 35 years in power and yet have been fighting for it for several good years?
No, actually, for us, we even not call for what? Opposition. Using the word opposition is to assume there is democracy. Is to assume there is a party in power that operates like a party. There is nothing like an NRM party. There is a fusion between the state and NRM. I know you are aware, in your district where you come from, it is the RDCs, the GISO that operates for NRM. But the GISO, it should be a set operative who works for everybody. An RDC takes money, salary from the consolidated fund. You have seen NRM having meetings in what? In State House. Are those NRM headquarters? Who pays for the drinks? For the eats? When you look at the protocol of Uganda, the first chairman of NRM is number 7. Not the first chairman of political parties, of NRM. The Secretary General of NRM has a police lead car. And another. Even the deputy. I'm the deputy Secretary General of the FDC. You do not see even somebody with a spear. Or with a fist that I'm going to hit whoever touches him. So this is a stressed regime. But you see, regimes in a dying horse can kick you when it's dying, because it uses this last strength which can hit you. But you must just learn how to deal with it. At this point, they are only working for their survival. How they live each day, they live each day. Not many days, each day. They take each day at a time. So even the whole infrastructure is prepared to probably the NRM. That is why you see decisions are taken in the other council. Now today soldiers are ministers. The former commander is a general, not retired general. He's Minister of State for Internal Affairs. That is General David Mwosi. The Minister of Works, General Katumba, is not a retired general. He's a general. They're in Parliament, but all sing NRM praises. So you cannot say you're competing with such a party. That is wrong. You've heard the word KAIJA judges. You heard when Kayihura was IGP, called NRM card number 1, but IGP of the police that must be working for all of us. We are in the second liberation of this country, which we must not behave normally in an abnormal situation. The word of opposition is a nickname to those opposed to Mr. Museveni. If you know what they call a nickname, you can be called big when you're too tiny. Have you ever had such nicknames?
Yes.
When somebody is too tiny, friends call you big. Okay? When somebody is too short, they call you tall. So you say, hey, tall. They bring their tall and you're like, or they call the person bouncer. As in somebody called you a rich man when you actually have nothing. Even you don't even have somebody who you demand money from.
Yeah.
And they call you my boss. And then you masquerade as a boss. I mean, basically.
No.
So, like, recalling our history, Uganda, we have the transfer of power comes with a lot of violence, unrest, instabilities. But you are saying that you are not opposition leaders, you are not opposition members, simply you are on the second revolution. But how are you going to compete with somebody who is controlling each and everything? And how, like, will you be able to liberate the nation if like this government in power, like the government in power, you engage with it in a democratic manner? Like, is it possible for somebody who makes the game to play the game with him?
You see, what you must appreciate that one, Uganda has never had a peaceful transition. Whenever there's a change of government, we hear bombs, and then one head of state is leaving, another coming in. And in 66, Sedward Ntesa is jumping over his palace, and Obote comes. There's no handover. 79, Obote is in Singapore. 71, is in Singapore attending the Commonwealth Conference. Gunshots in Kampala. He's out and Amin is in. 79, Sabasaba in Kampala. Amin is leaving. Rez coming in. 85, same thing happens. Obote is leaving. Rez coming in. 86. Upra is leaving, so it's coming in. Possibly we could be waiting for that. But we had wanted to change the course of that. Because the human cost involved is one. And the people who take power using guns never liberate people, they only liberate themselves. It can only be by their own goodwill being good to do good. But whenever they remember the price they pay, you must not benefit from their sweat. So if you want a country to benefit many, its liberation must include many people. If you understand, those who must struggle to get power must be many, so that those who benefit are many. If they few, as the gun does, if the gun helps you take power, would you use other means to keep power? You must still use the gun. So we are going to demystify the power of the gun. And it's possible through using non-violent means. What we are calling the defense campaign. That because you see the Ugandan media, we have journalists who do the king in his office. But what was the method of Martin Luther King? Defense campaigns. Were they blunted? No. What did Gandhi use? Defense campaigns. Even Jesus was the first speech of defense campaigns. Defense campaigns have achieved the change just next door. The removal of Kabila. The same was done next door in Sudan, Bashir. Non-violent movements removed Ben Ali in Tunisia. They did the same to Tahrir Square, Egypt. They did the same in Algeria. So that can achieve, okay, so that people who are involved, that makes leaders accountable for these masses. They know that if I play my games, this will come back and move. Now when the guy uses a gun, he's also goes to the gunman. Give them whatever they want so they protect you. Now if people bring you to power, you say give them what they want so they keep you. What do they want? Jobs, roads, hospitals, good prices, good taxes, good life. And what does that bring? It brings a good country. They say Uganda has developed. So it is achievable. What is not achievable is following the timetable of the dictator. That there will be an election in 2026. You ask for and you win it. This is stammering. But if you be, I am a scholar of Guinea Sharp. You can go Guinea Sharp, his book, From Dictatorship to Democracy. Some of the things that we have done, like for us, we have achieved many things. Through our pressure, Museveni removed Beret tax. Through our pressure, even when we said no, government can pay for university students, Museveni increased the number of students going to university. Never written in his manifesto. We talked about students' loan schemes. We have taught people how to demonstrate on the bad roads and they are fixed. On the bad hospitals, they demonstrate and they are fixed. Teachers demonstrating and their salaries increased. So we can say, along the way, you see, a struggle has many battles. A war has many battles. You may lose one battle or two, but eventually win the war. Even the money for the old people, what is called SAGE, was in our manifesto. We said that those people who have worked and paid taxes for this country, but who have never been workers in the government, so they have no pension. What happens to them? But now the people retire at 55. That means from 55, we say even our old people must start earning, and then start earning pension, must also earning SAGE. But now people retire at 55, but the government now is giving people at 80. Saying the others must retire at 80. So, in that way, so eventually along the way, it's hard to mobilize people to that line. But as people are saying that yes, it has achieved goals, they eventually see that that is what we can do, we must do, and remove the dictator. You only need just 1 week. Or people saying, they can't even just decide to start over. Nobody coming to town, there's nobody to tear gas, nobody to beat, and they don't get any taxes. This government depends on taxes collected every day. If they don't collect taxes, they are finished. Because this is a patronage system. Those that work for the state to keep the regime are paid. You hear these musicians, now everybody is flocking to group to get money. When they get money, they start crazy. So that means if you stop that money, the May singers will reduce. And then our numbers will increase, and we say no. There are no good things that come to a silver plate. Nothing. Everything you must struggle for it. Those who want a good Uganda, I want to tell you that governments, whichever government that comes to power, never works, never does what they want. They work depending on the pressure you put on them. Even those in the US. Bill Clinton had talked about your constitution is bad. One he said, no, it is the best. Washington led for 2 terms ago. You saw this man, Trump. Trump, if the institutions of the US were not strong as they are, and he was in Africa, he would be president up to now. So I even refused to attend functions of the Hanoi. I said, yes, you will not attend, but you are going. And eventually he left. Because even the soldier is trained that on such and such a day, he's no longer your boss.
But as liberators, as you said, you told me not to call your opposition members because you purposely are looking forward at how to liberate Uganda, right? So, do you think liberators can stand still and be vibrant in doing its activities without foreign aid? Remember the element of independence. Remember you talked of independence. If we want to do well, we need to be independent at all costs and in all means. So, without aid from abroad nations, do you think liberators can really stand still and vibrant?
Have you done art?
Art?
No. Have you done art?
Yes.
Does the place of art have the rubber?
No.
But have you seen pictures of art?
Yeah.
Do they look good?
Definitely.
But they are done without a rubber.
Yeah.
So, because they knew that if there was a rubber, people would keep making reckless what? Mistakes. But because they know you depend, the Baganda have a saying that that if you know that you are alone, like in a boxing ring, you know you are a one-man army, you will win. But in a football team, you know we're 11. So when the man by the way can decide to walk, no win, no, there is a defender who can stop him. And eventually there is a goalkeeper who can stop him. The time they reach the goalkeeper, the goal is through by the guy and they shoot the goal. The most important thing is we. As I told you, this is our nation, which we must define what we want. We can win without them. But being in a global village, sometimes you need their support, just their support. They must not take the lead. They must only follow you. Like you've said, you know, I don't know if you have seen people, the kind of, have you seen watch wrestling?
Yeah.
Where you sit on the mat, now the referee comes and does what? And says, now stop there. We only need them at a given level. Not to take the lead. The problem is putting it in the head to think that defining our next destination, people not Ugandans must do so. That would be counterproductive. Because when they come, they also come with their own agenda, which must be taken into consideration. In most of the time, they want rights. Someone tells you, I want rights over oil. Yes. I want land. Yes. I want now, because your country is not developed, all the contracts of road construction will be mine. Yes, we've given it. So at the end of the day, you take power, but without power. Because what makes you strong is to decide who must do what and who must have what. If you've given out the contracts, what makes people rich? Now the Chinese are all over. They don't even buy spare for their trucks here. They don't buy food here. They don't even buy fuel here. So you see a road with no dividends, with no money going to the locals. But if it was a Mukara's construction that was in charge of a given road, they will bring boys around here to get jobs, and that money goes into the wallet. When it goes into the wallet, they're even able to spend it and they spend it, the nearby markets will get money. When they get money, those in farms will start producing, knowing somebody is buying. We call it trickle-down economics, the multiplying effect. So from one source, 1 million spreads. But when it goes to the Chinese, it goes back to China. The celebrations are in China. So you have a rather wholesale involvement.
That means that liberators, you hope transition, not you in power, but things changing inside the government, which is standing.
I beg your pardon?
That means that liberators, you need to liberate people, not by you being in power, but through them, making them initiate good policy for you, for the people whom you lead there.
No, there is a change we want. Like today, there are 4 things we want to do. Because for us, we're working towards a transition. We believe no single party can take power from Mr. Museveni and gives Uganda the Uganda we want. He will actually do the same things that Mr. Museveni has been doing, or even worse. Because the current constitution is a despotic constitution. It legalized dictatorship by making the president the alpha and the omega. The president who chooses cabinet, who chooses judges, electoral commission, all commissions, and the one the IGP, the one of prisons, the RDC, everything is about him. So they are all answerable to him, unquestionable. So for us, we believe we must first have a transitional government, which must do 4 things. First of all, go and write a new constitution. But that transitional government must have members who must not participate after the transition, in the politics after the transition. So that they do not organize, they do not write a constitution or set up an infrastructure that only helps them. They must be beneficiaries as private citizens. So write for us a constitution, looking at the problems we are facing and the future world. Trimming the powers of government. Because currently, if a new party goes to government, it cannot reduce the number of MPs. It can't. It cannot remove advisors. It cannot trim its own power. A new constitution, Constituent Assembly can do that. Said, no, we have seen a very strong president, it's not good for us. Say, if you want to appoint an IGP, we do the Kenyan way, where it is public. If you want to appoint judges, the same things. The only thing, only names are sent to the president, which he can't send. The military get out of politics. The police that will remove this, we do this. So after writing the constitution, we start developing state institutions. How should our parliament look like? Do we need a parliament of 500 plus? We say no. Which numbers? How do we get them? What should be the role of parliament? Like for me, I believe MPs must not be ministers. Because when an MP thinks that one day he will be appointed minister, he can't be independent. Let the president choose his own ministers, and an MP is an MP. It makes that person very sober. Because when an MP becomes a minister, it doesn't become effective. So, that we do. We say, then we go to the judiciary. How should the judiciary be like? We go to the army and all the rest, and even political parties. So that we put up a level playing ground where every political party can access the people. Speak out its what? Its manifesto. Its agenda. People say, this one is better than the other. This one is the best. So that we articulate issues. have an is that is independent, not appointed by the president. Then we put up a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That's the third thing. So people of Uganda, they are, to settle the grievances among the people. We've had conflicts here in Uganda. We have conflicts in Bunyoro, Bunyoro and the Bachika. We've had conflicts all over. We have conflicts over land. Like you have people whose people are being kidnapped. They know who the kidnapper is. They can come and report them. So some cases that can be settled right there. We have to say, so where somebody only needs, I am sorry, sir. If those that need to go to court are taken to court, so that we can forge a united Uganda, where people identify themselves as, because you must first achieve that as Uganda, and then work for the goal of this country. Then that country, that government prepares for election, a free and fair election after it's done. But in the interim, as it's doing its work, it must fix the economy, provide services like health, education, infrastructure. So those must be what? Must be worked on. For that is our thinking. So this government, as these people are preparing elections, they are going back home. That government as private citizens. That is where we can move forward.
So that means from your discussion that you haven't reached the point of transition.
So no, we are at the point, but it's not yet there. We should have had a transition some good years back. Because we are being driven off the rail. Have you ever seen a train off the rail? That is where we are. And you know what happens? When train gets off the rail, not just one person dies.
But do you hope that all of what you have said, bring a constitutional transition, bring all the things that you try to articulate, do you hope that they will come in place if you proceed advocating like the way you do?
Yes.
In current government, the way you see how things are done?
No, because what I've articulated.
Yeah.
Do you see it as benefiting KAIJA or the whole country?
Definitely, it's benefiting the whole government.
Yes, you see, for us to bring policies we are not just a beneficiary. That's our difference.
Yeah.
It brings us where we benefit. When we are talking about great taxes, we are not talking about our fatherland. No, some of us, our parents would afford. When we talk about increase in number of children, we don't have all those children. Those were Ugandans. When we talk about the SAGE fund, you see, whatever policy we're talking about, we're talking about fairness. You can never have peace without justice. You can't. We are creating a just society. Today, the UN no longer looks at income per capita as the only basis of seeing how countries are faring. They realize that now when you say the income per capita, Uganda is $2,000. Do you know what $2,000 are? About 7 million. Do you have it? But they say you have it.
Yes.
And they say, even Museveni has $2,000. Even Sudan, it was unfair. They brought what we call a happiness index. Now the best country was not US, it was Finland. Happiness index, are people happy? And what is inside the happiness index? Access to education, healthcare, jobs, a legal system. If somebody goes to police, can he be helped? If somebody goes to court, can he get justice? Things that make you happy. You know the position of Uganda? Of the 160 countries, Uganda is 158. We are the tail end. We are people. We are not happy. Even as all of us are pretending to smile, we're not smiling because you don't know what to eat. You don't know how we are going to get here. You don't know where to get the tuition. You could be saying you don't know where to get the tuition. That's how we live.
talk about army and police in the interference of in the interference of political affairs of Uganda.
Of course, the army and the police is what keeps the regime in power. I told you it came on by force.
Yeah.
It must keep around by force.
Yeah.
No civilized country where you find the army and the police defining the destiny, the politics of the country. The army must be out of parliament. It must be in the barracks. Their role is to protect Ugandans and their property. The police is to keep law and order. That's the role of the police, is to be civil. But now we have a partisan police, a partisan army. That's not good for polity and not good for development. So that's why we are saying the transition in trying to disengage the NRM and the state, or to build a state institution, is to remove that. So that for one to get a job in government, you must not produce an NRM card or an FDC card. You must just be Ugandan, qualified for the job, and best among those who applied for the job. That is what we want. So that if somebody is in the military, how do you get into the military? How are you trained? How are you promoted? How are you facilitated? So that only the best go to the top. So that people know that was the best when we were recruited. No wonder he's our boss. Because that guy, he was a mediocre, he never had training, he never had a qualification, and he's the boss. That brings subordination. And so that's the reason why we have these people who are overzealous. He knows without the regime, he can't be that, he feels that he's in office because of a favor. But if I'm in an office because I am the best, I'll perform as the best. You've heard when we were told by the late, from the book of Professor Mbonyi, who said that the current PS of health got 12 points but was enrolled for in the school of medicine. So she did not have the right qualification to go to university and enter. She has not led any hospital, but now she's PS. So such a person is not respected by those that she leads, and she will not give you the best from what you expect from such an office. No wonder we get lip services.
So, basing in the interference of police and army into politics, people in the village, I cannot forget the fact that I have grown up in the village. People in the village, when you talk about that, and they look at how things are done by army, being used by the regime, as you say it, as you call it, that they are scared. They think that if anything happens, maybe something like maybe a war may break out. What is how will he deal with it? How will he, the liberators, how will he deal with it so that you can at least eradicate the way they are thinking, the way they think towards the change?
Not only in the villages, even around. For me, I even trust the states in the village. They have done wonders. But you see, cowards are all over. And the coward sometimes is because of ignorance. Ignorance is the worst thing. If somebody says you're ignorant, you're finished. You want to pass there, thinking you're getting up. When actually you'll be going to the toilets. So the most important thing is to emancipate our people through sharing knowledge. This government has invested a lot in ignorance through using the media that decides what is spreading, so and so was killed, so and so took somebody's wife, so and so is cheating, and never talk about the real issues. The infrastructure of the RDC and the they keep spreading propaganda. They have invested in that. Even the kind of education they give. His original civic education was removed from the syllabus of this country. political education was removed in secondary school and political science from university. So people must never learn about how the state is managed. So it is at every opportunity we try to engage the people. When we go to burial, we engage them. When we go to this family, we engage them. When we go to weddings, we engage them. When we get a chance to speak on the radio, we engage them to make sure that we share. And we always ask even those who pick what we say to be able to share it. It is the reason we use, for us, when I'm using my Facebook account, my Twitter account, my YouTube account, is to share knowledge. That is why you are even seeing that even this interview, it was argued that when I spoke with the colleagues, what we were supposed to share with you, that we must share it. Possibly somebody would go and go to YouTube and be able to pick one thing or the other.
So, basing on the political atmosphere of Uganda, which needs large sums of money in order to join into it, like, is there a possibility that a person from a humble background can join it and register success?
Yes, go in your village. Are all the councillors rich?
Not at all.
Not the richest people are. The moment the poor know they are the majority, they must not be too silly to only vote the rich. They must vote substance, because nobody uses his money to construct roads. Nobody uses his money to construct schools. The money that must fix the problems of our people are too huge for anybody to afford. You need roads, you need hospitals, you need jobs. Can a rich man who they call rich provide 10,000 jobs for the youth in the constituency? No. They want to provide handouts, 10,000, 20,000, which cannot fix your problems. So the 21st century is the century of wisdom. It's the century of ideas. What must win are ideas, not money. The day we thought about money as being the best, Bill Gates will be the president of the US. But he's not. Obama was not even the richest in Chicago. I'm saying one state, but he was president. I know some of the MPs who actually never even had a bank account, who are now MPs. I know many who never even owned a car, who are MPs. The most important thing are the ideas that must transform our people, our country, and then being able to articulate them well to those who must cast the ballot. But that even must be done by a society with a strong civil society. In part of the institutions that we think that must be for the civil society, because the civil society is non-partisan, which must go and tell people what is the yardstick of a leader, who should be an LC1 chairman, who should be a councillor LC3, who should be a chairman LC3, who should be a chairman LC5, who should be a councillor LC5, who should be an MP. What should you expect from the president? Because when the masses know what to expect from given offices, then they look around and see among those seeking office who can be the best to go and pick what they want from that office.
As liberators, what are the failures that you have registered since you started the liberation?
Of course, our failure to access people. But you see, our failures are not in isolation, but because of the environment we work in. Our failure to mobilize resources to keep us moving. Our failure to dismantle the regime. So those have been some of our failures. Others we keep to the vest, because this is a recorded video. that will be seen by the public. So sometimes you don't allow your enemy to know your weaknesses. If you are injured, you put a bandage on a wrong knee,
Yeah.
so that he comes knocks and the guy, I'm knocking on the injured leg, but the guy is not falling. But when you put it on the right knee, he'll say, no, when you knock on his knee, this guy will be what? Will be finished. And they will put you out of action.
Now, like, what would be the role of the media in the politics of Uganda media? What is...
About 95% of the media is owned by the state, or people connected to the state. Those opposing Mr. Museveni do not have a single media house, and he does not allow it. As the FDC we tried, he said over my head because they can't give them a license. The government is the sole giver, provider of adverts. So every media house that wants to get adverts from government must operate, must does the things of government. Every media house, even those private companies fear to give adverts to a media house perceived to be at the government. So there is what even we call self-censorship. They may decide,